Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks so much for joining me here. Happy Friday to you. We're going to talk a little bit about these patterns here forming here today. Some interesting patterns, of course. We got the rising wedge pattern that did break to the downside, and we also got a head and shoulders pattern too forming as well, tentatively, of course. But once more, 58,500 is that resistance range that we have noticed holding fairly consistent, even though we got some candle wicks up there and a couple of closures. Price action tends to pull right back and cannot seem to close above that level on the larger time frames. So we're going to talk about that as well. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Hope you can learn something today. Let's go ahead and load up our charts and kind of see what's going on here for Bitcoin with liquidation levels and just kind of see where we're at here, because we do look at 60,000. You can see a lot of shorts there at 60,000, somewhere in the range of 4, 6, maybe 7. $6 or $7 billion worth of liquidation there. So yeah, each of these lines here are worth about 2 billion. So there's quite a lot there. And we also got a lot down below as well. Okay, so keep in mind, Bitcoin wants to go up, but it also has a lot of resistance and it keeps wanting to pull back too. And honestly, if you do take a look at the larger time frame liquidation levels, there's still a heavier concentration at the low 50 range. Okay, again, roughly 52,000 as an estimate there for liquidation levels below us. If you were to kind of put everything together and look at a concentrated larger amount. So that's helpful for us to know, because again, the price could pull back to that level. Now, we just also got to recognize too that liquidation is not always 100% as far as a barometer of what's going to happen next. It's just kind of like an overall incentive for the price to go in a certain direction. Keep in mind, there's eventually going to be a point in which the price bottoms out and we'll have tons of liquidation that never gets swept. Okay, that's also a very realistic thing. So try not to get too bought into that whole concept there. We want to look at everything concurrently to make sure we make an informed decision, which is what we're going to do now here. So let's take a look at the daily time frame. Again, we're still below this descending trend line. Roughly, we're underneath the 20-day SMA. That's basically what the trend line is telling us. We're also under the 200-day SMA too. And this is the daily time frame that we can see. Again, 58,500 holding like a champ. There's no surpassing that, okay? Now again, today we close at 58.5 or higher. It might be a different story. We may need to shift gears and consider some longs. In fact, altcoins are doing fairly well today because Bitcoin just pumped about 1% on the open. So there is that, but once more, a little too early to tell here. There's still some bearish divergences, but being below the 200 and the 20-day SMA is generally unfavorable, and until we can close above both, we don't want to have confidence to take a long position, or I would say I wouldn't be able to take a long position with confidence without that. However, we can see, of course, that MACD is officially converging for the first time in what seems like forever, back since June. It's been about a month or so of consistent divergence. Every time we try to have a convergence, the price action will drop. This is where we last had a convergence here, and the price pulled back, rejected off the 20-day SMA. Okay, so again, be mindful. Even though we're converging on the MACD here, and that shows that we have a shift in momentum that's starting, it really is just because we're starting to bottom out here. No, nothing else really. Having said all that, we're over we're under 50 on the RSI. Money flow index is fairly low, and of course, traditional RSI, or stochastic, you could say, is starting to slow down, right? So generally speaking, those are not favorable signs. We don't have anything here minus the MACD convergence that's really more so a consolation at this point. So I don't really see a lot of benefit in the macro here in that sense right now, letting us know that we're shifting gears and we're totally fine. Okay. Again, 58.5 is a very solid resistance range, and we got to respect that until the price can close above. I think we can presume the price may continue lower. Taking a look here, though, of course, we are wavering above and below 50 on the RSI. So that's kind of like an invalidation in a lot of ways. In other words, generally being under it is bearish and above it is bullish, but it keeps breaking above and below. It's like a very challenging situation to kind of trade. And anybody who has watched my channel or part of our committee more so specifically, yeah, there has been a lot less signals because the market has been giving us a lot of false positives. And it can be difficult to take trades comfortably with that, especially when you got a few hundred people, trading underneath you. So I would just say, be patient. It's okay. We will get through this, of course, and it's just one of those transitions, and I comfortably can say that we're going to see some pretty awesome stuff here in the next couple of years. But for right now, we just kind of got that weirdness in the market where we're trying to find a bottom. Until we find our bottom, it's kind of one of those weird little situations. Either way, having said that, stochastic's trying to swing up here and letting us know there's some momentum. MACD's trying to converge as well. So generally speaking, the momentous indicators are letting us know that the momentum is shifting. But the truth is, we're still establishing lower lows, lower highs, and we still cannot seem to establish higher highs and consistency with the higher lows for starters. Again, you always look for higher lows to make sure that you're on the right side of the tracks there. That is kind of the stepping stone, and we don't have that. Again, this is a rough sketch here of a head and shoulders pattern, but generally speaking, they break down. A lot of it because the fact that the bulls keep pushing, trying to push higher and higher, and they keep losing ground. At this point here, I think it's pretty safe to say the price action should pull back here soon, just based on the way that things are shaping up in that regard. We also had this rising wedge pattern that inevitably broke to the downside, and if you extend this out further, you'll see bearish backtest of the ascending trend. So again, likelihood of breaking this resistance level is lower, but again, it's not an exact science. Let's take a quick look at the Ichimoku cloud and confirm. This is another thing reaffirming the fact that we should continue lower as well, just based on this resistance here for the cloud. We can see the lagging span is still kind of stuck in the price action, and the conversion line is below the baseline. So again, even though we have decent momentum coming into this little push, it's just, unless we see a lot more volume, we're not going to be able to see the price action break through that 58K barrier, or more importantly, 58.5 as a larger number. So I'm still on the bias that we're going to go ahead and see the price action pull back a little bit further. So just be careful with longs, of course. If we do take a look at Bitcoin dominance, it is slowly pulling back. So most alts are starting to bottom out and starting to recover, but don't let that fool you. You can instantly see this reset button hit, and as soon as Bitcoin starts to breach that 57K mark, you can see altcoins kind of do a little bit of a belly flop there. So just be careful trading altcoins right now. Either way, tighter targets, lower leverage, and or position size. Protect yourself. Try not to get too crazy. And if Tom, Dick, and Harry online is telling you to take a 50x long on XYZ coin, I would just maybe recommend pumping the brakes, work within your risk tolerance, and try not to listen to anybody. Even myself. I mean, I've been absolutely wrong on a lot of calls, and I have no problem admitting that. Nobody's perfect. Okay, but again, consistency over time does show, and the truth is the market right now is a little bit of a challenge. So no other way around it, folks. Either way, thanks again so much for joining me here. Really hope you learned something today. If you do, again, want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site. Link down below. We'll look forward to working with you. We're bringing some really awesome features to our community as well. I'm going to start sharing my charts, and then of course we're going to be bringing some swing trades here as well. So it's going to be a lot more fun. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks again so much for your time. We'll see you soon.